foresee where you're gonna run into an issue is trying to send that file to Susan.
She can just go off that.
Okay, yeah. It's be a pretty big file.
Sorry we're late, we'll call the meeting to order at 18:24. We'll start with citizens' comments. Is there anything? Sorry, probably already talked about it. Sorry. Christian Savage, did he come and leave, or?
Nope, he's gonna come, they're gonna try to come June 19th.
Okay.
The next assessors meeting after our town meeting.
Oh, beautiful, yeah.
You wanna speak to what the offer was though, or just wait until then, or?
I think, you can speak to it,
Yeah.
you know better than I.
Sure, so it's just a basic offer they're offering the towns that couldn't take part in that big package. They're just gonna grant us $10,000 for use at our discretion for anything IT related, software, hardware, networking. And in addition to that, they're going to purchase, not associated with the 10,000, a 65-inch screen and all the wiring necessary to improve that to a bigger screen, whether we put it behind us or beside us.
That was the people that came in and.
Yes, I.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, Somerset Economic Development Corp. And then if we desire an OWL camera, which is like a large group meeting camera, so we could use that to record the meetings and set it somewhere where it could point towards someone that's having a citizen's comment or something. That's pretty much it. So there's no real strings attached to it other than it has to be IT related. And yeah, so.
That was a nice offer.
Yeah,
I think it's a good deal.
Susan speaking up was helpful, and we weren't the only town to say this sounds great for big towns, but not for us. But they wanted to make sure we
What
were.
can you do for us? And this is it, and I think it's pretty good because really, we know what our needs are. I mean, we're working on it. We have to prioritize them. There's lots of needs. We'll try to prioritize
Right,
them.
but that helps.
It really does,
Ease
where we
the
have-
financial burden
Yes.
with the electronic part of it.
Yeah.
The software and.
It doesn't make it long term for something that we
Right.
don't know what that would be.
Exactly.
Yeah, 3 years from now.
That was a
we
little
pick up.
scary.
That wasn't there yet, so, yep, yeah, I think that's great, thank you.
Yep.
Town report review,
I feel like we covered it pretty well last night.
Well, just, for the public to know, we're working on the warrant, and the, figures for the annual report. And it's a work in progress. I had already mentioned to the Peabodys that we are having some issues right now extracting data that we need for reports from Trio, but we're working on it, and that is just to, so we're providing the public with those reports in the front of the town book with accurate information and up-to-date information. And we're still working on it. I think that's probably right now
I think that's
our
biggest-
biggest hurdle right
Yeah.
now, is that we've really got the book compiled. Susan's done a job getting all of the, the animal control
done a great job.
report, the fire warden's report, whatever his name is, Angus Camp, all the
Oh, yeah.
stuff that's usually in there. And I might mention, since you're here, as you know, we usually have, I don't know if it's dedications or in memory of in the front of the book.
Yeah.
And the only person that we could think of that had passed, that had roots here, was Judy Rowe.
Oh, yeah.
And if you can think of anybody or
How
anybody.
about
you know-
Barbara Norman's husband?
He was in last year.
Oh, that was last year, okay.
So, but if you think of anybody, let us know. But that's the only one we could think of.
anybody on the camera too, if you're watching,
Yeah.
Let us know, seriously.
Yeah, we'd like to add them.
Yeah.
But that's all we've come up with so far. We are working on having the book, reduced in size. We have, I think, pretty much determined that the commitment is gonna go online, although printed copies will be available if people want them,
Nice.
as opposed to having it in the book. for
It's like
everybody.
10 pages,
Yeah.
it's something,
We've cleaned a few things up, tried to consolidate some of the stuff.
some of the stuff.
Remove some of the articles that, like the county tax, okay, that needs to be in the budget, but it's not an option. I mean, if
Right,
the voters say, no, we're not gonna pay it, it's like, that's,
well, that's,
you know,
that's.
and there's actually a few more like that when you think about it, like
Quite a few.
like that
Taxes,
road bond.
payroll
But
taxes.
it's like, oh no, not gonna pay our road bond, so we're gonna default on our
That was
loan.
already voted on when we did it.
Right,
It was
so,
had to be-
but you know, we're trying to make some of that transition, but by the same token, it is, we have the tradition of the information that's in the book, and it's also good for people to have as much of an idea as possible where the money's going.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, so,
It's there, but sometimes it was duplicated in like
Yes.
2 or 3 different places.
Yeah.
So we're just kind of streamlining.
That's good,
Yeah.
That's all.
that's good. I think that's very professional.
and I don't think I have a whole lot more on that unless anybody else does.
Thank you, yeah. Susan's done a great job.
Oh my
on
gosh,
it.
she's got the whole book together,
Quite a bit
and
of it, yeah.
we just have to finalize the numbers and.
Okay, so we'll move on to the leased properties discussion. So, I don't know if I have, it. We have, we're still talking about the leased land that we have, and we're gonna bring that up at the town annual meeting, and for yourself and the public, and we've already talked about this, so you know where we stand. Basically, when we have that town meeting, we're gonna bring it up to the people and ask the people whether they are interested in continuing the leasing or exploring the options of selling those properties. With that being said, we're gonna ask for a few dollars to explore those options, because there's gonna be some legal fees.
Yes,
And it will be probably all of next year, so we'll renew the leases in June anyways.
Mhm.
But it'll be all of next year before, to get that stuff together, and there probably will be, well, there definitely will be a special town meeting after we get some of the first legs on the ground, whether we can or cannot legally continue that exploration, so.
yeah.
That's kind of what we were there for.
Do we feel that, I know you've got a new town attorney, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
And do we feel that we're sufficiently protected,
With the
for
leases.
liability with the leases? I mean, are they worded appropriately?
I don't think-
Are we out on a limb there?
I don't think we've submitted that, the lease, verbiage to the new attorney yet, so,
They know it's probably the first thing they're gonna get engaged for though, is that, and so really, so there's 2 line items in the town warrant. One that asks the town if they would wish that we pursue the idea of selling the properties. And if
Yes.
that is approved, then the next line item is, do you approve the spending of like $5,000?
Can do that.
It probably won't be more than $10,000,
That's right.
the feasibility studies,
Right,
to have the new attorney look at things and,
Right.
you know, it's,
but
before we even,
while we continue to renew the leases in June though, do we know that those are proper and we're,
it's probably.
our
gonna get looked at.
liability wise we're covered, or, I mean, I don't know. if
What
we
I
did
do
it
know
wrong
is that the
originally.
lease, which is pretty lengthy,
Yeah,
was redone last year
Oh,
by
very
Tim
good.
Woodcock.
oh, good, then I'm
Okay.
sure it's fine.
Yeah.
I thought maybe it was
It's,
just
it's,
an
it's,
old one
it's
that.
pretty, no, it's
nobody
pretty
paid
legal,
any
it's pretty
attention.
legalese.
Oh, good, that's fine. That's
But no,
fine.
that was redone last year.
Oh, that's
so,
good.
yeah.
That's very good.
With some of, with some of the lease lots, I had been concerned, and I still don't have 100% handle on LUPC's regulations regarding trailers on lots like this, okay? But my understanding is that Tim Davis is at number 5, that trailer's been there all winter. I don't think it's supposed to be. He does have an outhouse, okay? He's supposed to.
okay, yeah,
Lot 2 is my big question.
lot 2 is big.
That trailer was last registered in
I
2022,
don't,
and I don't think there's any solid waste disposal process there. I don't know if I've ever even seen anybody there.
No.
I mean, you go by all the time, there were 2 trailers there last fall,
I
so
know.
one of them's gotten pulled out.
So
But,
we gotta do a better job at policing that as well, so.
Yeah.
I think with this opening this up, this spring,
That's
this year,
Yeah,
It's
that
gonna-
gives you kind of a
well, this is,
reason to go in and,
what gave us the incentive to start looking.
yeah, I think that's.
I guess the question I have is, should one of us reach out to, it's Gilbert Meringue?
I can.
And basically, you know, that trailer really needs to be moved,
I can,
and
doesn't it say, yeah,
it was last registered in 2022. I think with LUPC, it's pretty funny, it's 120 days, but they don't really have any way of monitoring it.
Right, no one yeah.
But basically, the idea is that Tim Davis is a really good site, because he's got a trailer in there, it's in good shape, he's got an outhouse in there,
Yeah.
but the trailer should, I believe, have been pulled out of there for the winter and pulled back in. Not a huge
And
situation.
that's a
But-
UPC requirement.
Right, but the other one, this is a really pretty non-compliant situation,
It is.
not only with the lease agreement, but without UPC
No.
rules
Good
and
for
things,
you,
so.
that's good,
Yeah.
that's good.
So, I'm sure we have his contact info, you know what I mean?
Right.
And just have a conversation, express our concerns, and
Yeah.
see what we can do with him. Lot one, I don't know if if everybody's seen it, but it's almost directly across from the little camps at Ida's, not Ida's, but that, have you ever seen anybody in there?
I have not.
There's actually a tent platform.
There
out
is.
But I don't think I've ever seen anybody in there.
To be honest, the extent of my research of the leases were, put through the state and the tax part of it, all thing. I have not followed up with the leases
Right.
at all this year. It's been too time consuming with the other stuff, trying to get the taxes
Absolutely,
taken
but
care
they do run out in June, that's when they, when they.
of. Right, and that we need to have a better idea on that.
Just so you know, this is really difficult.
Did you call them today?
Yes, I did call them today, okay?
So, we got the
And-
tax bills, just to give you up to speed what we're talking about. Remember, a couple meetings ago, I told you that I found out that CMP had been paying their taxes.
Yes,
Well, we finally got our tax bills from the state for those lots that CMP had been carrying
Okay.
for all these years, since the nineties. And, they only can go back so many years, when Charlie's did,
We have 22, 23, and 24 here, but the question is, it's 9.7 acres, and I don't know what pieces of land these tax bills are for, because we paid some tax bills back in October to this, and I have copies of those here, and I thought those were for,
those, right?
I also got the tax cards for all of this stuff here. from
Oh, you already
the
did
state
that, okay, yeah.
today. Yeah, so I'm just confused, it's like, that 9.4 acres, does that include, the lots that we already have been paying taxes on, or are they the other lease lots? Do they include the lots with buildings on them?
Well, I'm wondering if, say, the other ones, like the, Stetsons and, Collins and the other ones, was CMP paying their taxes?
I don't think so, because if you go, I got into this thing today, I should have printed it, okay, you get into
So-
T3, R4,
Yeah.
BK, EKB, you can get in there.
Yeah,
And so there's two parcels that have the Forks Plantation on it, okay, as the owner. Then by going by number, I found the one which is still listed under CMP, but it's this account right here, it hasn't been changed
that's
to
what
the
I got,
Forks.
yeah.
And then what I did find was no acreage, but, building only for, Collins, Stetson, and Barney. So I'm thinking that these tax bills are for their land,
That's what I,
all the land.
that's what I was just commenting.
Right,
That's where, so, yes.
so those three plus the three lease ones.
So that's kind of what I got out of it from the woman I spoke to as well,
Yeah,
but she wasn't sure, and she said it was gonna be on that tax bill when she sent it, so I'm thinking that we either have to itemize it, figure out to separate it, send those bills to, the appropriate people. That was, because it's in there at least to pay the taxes.
I don't know if it's in the lease to pay the taxes on the land or just the building.
Oh, I see.
You know what I'm saying? Because what they pay taxes on, from what I can see when it looks at it, it
That's
says
what-
acreage
yeah.
0. So
But
I
you-
think they're
but
only
you can
paying,
put that in the lease.
Yes,
If you wanna
you
correct
can, but
it.
I'd have to look at the
That's
lease, this is
right.
all
I think it said that all
evolving right now.
taxes were supposed to be paid by the leasing, if I remember right, we'd have to go pull that.
Right,
contract.
and it looks to me like CMP's been paying them, and
They
now we're
have
paying
been
them.
since, well, that's exactly what I brought to the meeting that
Right.
day. And that's what I was afraid of, and I think I mentioned that as well, so.
What's hard for me to figure out is, because we do have the tax cards, and again, I was working on it today, I have book and page,
Yeah,
and it has to do with the transfer of
They
that
do
land
break
to
it
the
up.
town, and it's like, oh my, I'm trying to read these deeds with
Yeah.
5 different owners, CMP, Kennebec Water Power Company, all this
So
stuff,
the
you know?
assessor, the state assessor is supposed to remap those tax bills.
Okay.
So I think in the future, if I remember correctly, this was a couple months ago, that the new tax bills will become with a new renewed map.
Okay,
Those is just the past of what CMP's been paying.
right.
So I have to reach out to her, and I can reach out to her again and find out, I can't remember her name from the state.
And I did, that I can tell you, her name was Brandy, I can tell you that those folks are extraordinarily helpful.
They are very
I
helpful.
mean, they're very cooperative, they're very helpful, and she says, I can send
They
you the
weren't at
tax
first,
cards, but.
they were helpful at first, but then all of a sudden, we were originally asking the questions about Lot 1A.
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden it became, the light came on, you were like, oh, wait a minute here. CMP, no, cause then CMP called,
Yeah,
and so it became a big thing, so then it was all of a sudden, it was a clarification to get CMP's name off the taxes and the Forks on the
Right.
taxes, so. In the meantime, yes,
Okay.
we'll sidebar after this, we'll get,
yeah, but I've got all, like I said, so these are copies of the bills that we paid
Yep.
in October. Okay, we paid, three property tax
right,
bills.
those are the bills that I started with, I started the research.
And now this one comes in, and I'm just trying to figure out in my own mind,
Yeah.
what particular properties are we paying
Okay.
taxes
Yeah.
on?
Right, right, and then you can.
And I have the map, I'm sitting here adding up acres today, and I'm like, I can't get 9.4.
Right, so that might be something we'll need some clarification with.
Yeah, so anyway, I did get somewhere to go with that today, you know, but
It's still a work in progress, this
But
is
then the
a,
new leases that start in June, you will pay the taxes, but then you can bill them for the,
and we will.
for the reciprocal.
We're gonna look at that, so at
Yeah,
least in 2025 to 2026, at least, we will recuperate the taxes from the leasees. So
Yeah.
then bills will go up a little bit, to pay the
so
taxes.
there's
Yeah,
22,
that's good.
23,
Yeah.
24, and then the ones we paid earlier, those are, yeah, that's all.
That's all.
Only one of many things, but really, that's good work, that's
It's the
good.
same
They're
piece,
saying it's 9.4 for all three total.
yeah, it's just different years, 22, 23, and 24, but that's a 9.4 acre parcel.
So see, that's the corner one, that's the one on the west side that actually reaches out, and going the Indian Road across from the Shirley Road to the left, where the spillway dumps in,
And
the
that
stream.
ATV little parking spot right in there.
Well, no, yes,
Yeah.
yep, and then that
Like
whole
we'll
corner
pull it.
parcel through there. And at one time, I thought it was supposed to, it depicted a building on that lot, but there is none. And I walked it looking for that building. And that's where I started with my confusion, but, not where I started, but that's one of the confusions. So we're still trying to clear this up, and that's part of what the conversation's gonna be during the annual meeting is, we're gonna need some, legal assistance,
Sure.
surveying to go in and review what we have that's been
Yeah.
surveyed and put this on paper, so one, we're taxing it correctly,
Yeah.
and two, if we're gonna sell the things, that they're done correctly.
Right.
And that we can legally sell
That we
them.
can legally sell.
Because there's all this, I saw on this map, like this lot can't be sold
Number
until.
4, we can't,
another- You know how they 40 acre, you can sell 5, and
Yes,
another one,
yes.
it's some of that kind of
lot
stuff
4, we
involved.
can't sell. It's wetlands and
Right.
it's part of the spillway, so
Right.
lot 4, we cannot, so, but we gotta get all that in a legal
Sure,
manner to present to the people,
Yeah.
so that's
Well,
part of what,
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's
where
wonderful.
we're gonna go with it, so that's part of that discussion.
You know, and if folks don't want to, I assume that we'll continue to do what we're doing now, I mean, we'll have to, we'll
Well,
probably
which
delete
is
it.
fine, but we'll have to, charge appropriately, at least pay their
That's right,
taxes,
that's
so we don't.
right.
Right, we're not in the hole.
I think that was over $3,000, those bills, weren't they?
Yeah,
Yeah.
all told.
And we only make like 5,000 on the
On the
whole
whole
leases.
leases, yeah.
Yeah.
so-
Well, it's about $1,000 a year,
It
so,
wasn't.
you know.
It's not very profitable.
And honestly, that's the only reason that, I mean, the town why do we wanna be in the real
We
estate
don't.
business if it's not?
I
If the
don't.
town, if the townspeople want us to be in the real estate business, it should at least make a profit.
Right.
Exactly, so that's why it's coming to the forefront, yes,
Yeah.
and we're doing the research.
It's gonna be,
That's
you know,
excellent.
not,
Unfortunately, lot one A was, the straw that broke the camel's back, if you will, to open this can of worms.
Yeah,
That's where we are.
is that Ida's lot?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And I don't have familiarity with anybody that's leasing those lots, but just speaking objectively, if townspeople vote to move to sell those properties, we're gonna wanna make sure those leases are ironclad, because that's probably gonna upset some people that
100%.
currently lease them.
And that's why we're gonna have to legal,
Just make
we'll
sure,
have some.
at least have an overview,
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
make sure they know that we're thinking about selling it, and
Yes.
before we break the news to the, well, yeah.
those
The news is gonna break pretty quick.
those
It is,
People
so
are
Oh,
losing
yeah,
their
small
leases.
town,
lease
everyone's
agreements
gonna
are
know.
pretty
Yeah, that's-
legalese, like I said, but there is
That's
something
been in
about
the
6
past
months.
on Moxie,
notice
our
it can be
vehicles,
broken.
we
I
David
mean,
had to deal with that.
I don't know if it was legal, but the lease on lot one A was broken, you know, and so,
We understand that.
you know.
Who knows,
We
maybe they'll,
can't-
maybe they'll
we-
wanna be the buyer.
That's,
So we
That's-
just
that's
discuss
the
if we
thing.
sell the, first right of refusal to the lessees, or,
that's true, that's fact. But we can't, in good faith, we really can't disclose or discuss that until people say
That's
that
right.
that's what we wanna
you're
do.
right,
That's
yeah.
right.
And then we find out, and then B is to find out whether legally we can sell them. or not.
Right.
Right.
So honestly, we can't,
Right.
we can't start a fire, let,
Right.
this may not change, but if the people want us to explore this is the first step into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
And
all.
if they decide that they want to sell those properties, quite a bit of expense just drawing up the purchase and sales and getting all of that.
Absolutely.
The surveying, and,
Done
it'll cost a penny,
So we just need
but
to get.
we'll get
we
a
need to
dollar back
recoup
if we
that.
do,
Exactly.
if they end up doing it.
That's right, we need to recoup that.
Yeah.
Would you sell it with that Ida's building up without being demolished, or you have to demolish it?
No, I think that particular lot we've talked about, because of the nostalgic, the historical part of it, it's been, talked about through the Historical Society, that there will be some stipulations, with that building, and also there'll be also stipulations, because it has, the town has a right of way to access the actual dam itself, which is on that lot.
Yeah,
Right.
So that one's gonna be a very tricky, and that's gonna need a lot of, legal,
And it has asbestos on it, right?
well, that's something different, that'll go with.
It may be, just as,
It'll have to be, yes.
as I've thought about it more, it may be that we could sell the buildings, but not the lot because of its association with the dam
Yeah.
superstructure,
Yeah.
that we have to maintain ownership of it.
Right.
I don't
yeah,
know.
right.
You know.
We don't know, those are the particulars that, if the town says we're gonna do this, that's why we need the money to
Yeah.
research this.
That's
We
right.
can only do so much legwork, and
Absolutely.
that's where we are right now. We're at a point where, at this point, we're gonna need some legal,
Well, we're a lot
Legal
further
help.
ahead than we were.
sometimes I'm not sure if that's a good answer. Sometimes when you ask a question, you might find yourself 3 steps backwards.
I know.
But yes, we're working in that
That's good.
That's,
That's good, you're doing a good job.
so. Anything else on that? No? So, for that, okay, we'll talk about that. The emergency generator, general discussion.
Yeah, I'm not really sure why,
Oh, I should put that on.
that necessarily needs to be here. I've gotten I
Let's-
haven't.
We'll cross that off, because we've already discussed that, that's gonna be at the town meeting.
Yeah, and we've got the proposal from Bob's,
Yep.
and we got the proposal from Craig.
Yep.
And the bottom line is that it looks like we'll have to see if the folks wanna raise $4,700
Yep.
towards the generator in order to compensate for the ARPA funding that we had to use elsewhere and the increased costs in the year before.
Yeah,
And we couldn't take advantage of it last year at that price because of the way the taxes came in late.
Right.
And, well, they went out late, so they
Yeah.
came in late, and, the ground was frozen and that quote expired.
Yeah.
You know, that's
Right.
basically what happened, so.
and that's something that we'll discuss at
That's great.
the meeting when we, when we get to that article. Number 6, Blue Star Services.
What is that?
This is the, named the outfit that, would, work with us, if we wanted to outsource some of our, financial operations.
Okay,
Again, this was sort of something that, I started because of, I think Karen or somebody has mentioned about, you know, how a lot of places farm out payroll. I'm like, yeah, they do. I don't really think that our payroll is a real problem here. It's not complicated enough.
Right.
It's not hundreds of employees. But, I think there are other aspects of our financial operations that we're still, you know, need a lot of work on. And what this guy would do, his name's Mark Roy, just for a little bit of, for what it's worth, he is related to Billy Gladue, if anybody knows him. He's married to Billy Gladue's sister. He knows Bernie Loaf. He's from Lewiston.
Okay, yeah.
And, you know, so I just feel like he's, you know, very approachable, you know, good guy to talk to, and he seems like he's very professional. He would come in here and, basically help us learn how to use Trio to its maximum capacity. Because again, you know, Susan's not here, I'm not speaking behind her back.
right.
I think she would agree. She still has
Yeah.
problems understanding some of the way it works with this double accrual
Yeah.
and these different ledgers and account balances and
We've
general
been-
ledgers and all that kind
And
of
we're
stuff.
still behind on the bank reconciliations, that's our big,
Trio promised us,
that's our big
or led
problem.
us to believe that they were gonna do this certain service for us.
Right,
And as we spent all this money throughout the year, and I'm not discrediting, because we still need to keep into the Trio part, but as we find out that it's a conflict of interest between R.H.R. Smith
yeah,
and to do certain functions of that reconciliation or the audit and so forth. So they've been really hesitant about it. This guy will come in, or this firm will come in and
That's right.
close that gap.
Good.
So, and help connect the dots, so when we go to do the audit with Trio, all those reports will come in the correct way. We're still struggling, trying to get which, yeah, which
Well,
report.
cause we're so far behind.
And that's, yeah, that,
And how to generate them and how accurate the data is, because the reconciliations from the previous years haven't been done. This is my, he, quoted between 10 and $20,000. He doesn't really know, because he doesn't
Well, he
really
doesn't
know
know what he's
what
getting
he's
into.
getting into.
Right,
right,
And then, after that, it would be an ongoing monitoring, and he said he would, I keep hearing this, I've heard it from the time I started, make adjustments, whatever the hell that
Well,
is.
they
Do the
do. They do make
reconciliations.
adjustments, because,
And I think
Yeah.
that's making, if something was applied to the wrong,
right, You have to
line
take it out,
item, they
then you
move
have
it
to
to
put it
another
in.
one, and
That's
they
right.
do all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so he would provide that on an ongoing basis, but there is no long-term contract. It's not like we're locked into
Right.
him for 5 years. It could go on for a few months and say, we've got this, thank you
We've got
very
it done.
much.
Yeah.
So there's the upfront cost, there's the ongoing monitoring, which was something I have to honestly believe, I thought we had sort of set up with R.H.R. Smith,
Right,
but that's
we
really,
all did.
it hasn't really played out that way
Yeah.
for a variety of reasons.
that's right.
It's not
And
even,
it's water
it just, it
under
is
the
what it
dam, you
is.
know, it's-
So, this is my point, even though I know it's a lot of money, is that to try to get 15,000, that's halfway in between,
Yeah,
not to exceed 15, or however we might
Right.
wanna word it.
yeah,
And the reason this is important to me is that we were elected and came in here because the finances were
We're
not
such
being
a mess,
properly
right,
managed.
right.
And we are doing everything we can, and we're
Right.
honest,
right,
and we're transparent,
right,
but still, anybody who was a
Isn't
numbers
it?
person would sit there and look at that, and they,
right,
As much work as we've done, we don't feel as we've made the ground that we thought we would, and
that's
we
right.
can't without
That's right.
some help.
It
Right.
has to be
And
right.
R.H.R. Smith promised, we felt that they promised us that help, and they're not providing that help to that
Sure,
extent.
yeah.
And as we find out, it's a conflict of their interest because they're the auditor.
Mhm.
So we need some help to get
Yeah. I
them
On
to
track.
mesh together, and once that's done, and I mean, it took us this
Yeah.
long to get there, but once that's done,
I think
hopefully
it's
we can we can pretty much.
I'd like to at least put it out to the people.
Yeah.
So is
Absolutely.
that
Make a
in an
decision.
article? I missed
Yeah.
that.
It is, yes.
It is, okay.
No, I don't think we've got it as an article
I
yet.
thought we did.
No, we wanted to discuss it tonight.
Oh,
It's not,
So I
it's
think-
not an
Okay,
article.
that's
Are we
yet.
gonna
Want-
vote to put it as an article, or?
We can,
We
yes,
can.
we will.
Yeah.
After we have this discussion.
It's just, to me, this is our primary purpose,
I
is
agree.
why we're here.
Absolutely.
And
I
if we
agree.
can't take care of the money and know properly according to municipal accounting standards, then I don't know why we're being trusted with $800,000 of taxpayers' money, because we don't, it needs to be accounted for properly,
Has been going on for
ever.
years. That was one of my major problems as being the treasurer, is I could not balance
Right.
the bank account. That was a huge
Yeah.
stress on me.
And it's
And I
snowballed over the
feel,
years.
yes, it just
What was-
needs to
might have
be
been a
done.
simple problem a few years ago
It
is
will
not.
continue to
Yes.
snowball, because
Exactly.
it's a
Right.
basic accounting thing, it has to reconcile at
Right.
some point, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
and if we can't afford to get that done, we have to ask ourselves if we can continue to be a plantation.
Well, I
Uh,
mean,
plantation.
we're responsible for a lot of money, and I think the people
That's
deserve
what we're
to
trying to
know
avoid.
I
where,
know.
where it's coming from and where it's
I know.
going,
Honestly,
you know?
Yeah,
at the end of the day.
we'll never get better people than we have right now.
We need to get the reconciliation, we need to get our
That needs to be
checkbook
priority.
period in order.
That's right.
And this has been the struggle that we've been struggling with, that we took, that was a struggle before us, it's still a struggle, and this is the avenue that we're found. We thought Smith was gonna be our savior, we all put our,
And it wasn't just you guys, all of us.
no,
thought so,
he
too.
sat right up there and said, I'll fix this, and
Oh, yeah.
He did, that's,
Didn't he say that?
God's
I mean, I'm
honest
sorry.
truth, we can take care of this,
we take care of this, and I'll have it done in August.
That's
I'm
right.
sorry, but he sold it to all of us, so.
Oh,
He did, there's no doubt.
And, so this is where we are today, so,
Well, I think that's, I mean, it'll go.
So do we wanna make a motion now, whether we're
I was
gonna?
just gonna ask if there's any other discussion.
I'm in favor of it. It could be something we only need for 5 years, and then we get the right size and.
May not.
I don't even
maybe
think
that
5
long.
years.
Could be 5 months, we don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, we just need to get,
The other thing that could be is if something happens and there's a change in personnel
Mhm.
for whatever reason,
Yeah,
you know, as
well,
he
because
explains, we
we're
have,
all elected for 1-year terms at the moment,
right.
so,
Right, and if there's a change of personnel, this guy can provide continuity if
That's
we're
right.
shifting from one person to the other.
That needs
That's
to
been a
be-
lot of the
until we
problem,
can get,
that needs
is,
to be
is
presented.
we almost get to a
Charlie.
certain
Yeah.
point, and then there's a new treasure, and we're back down here, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? And we get to a certain point,
Mhm.
it's been like this, you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
And I honestly,
Long-term stability,
I
not just for,
honestly think it's unfair to ask anyone to serve in that position with books that are not balanced when they take over.
It's very stressful.
Yeah,
I'm
we're
gonna
trying to
say-
It'd be a nightmare.
yeah,
we're trying to address that
Yeah.
with this
I think,
annual meeting.
but I do think that's a really good way to present it to the people too, is that,
that's what we're here for, it's the number one priority.
that's.
That's why we're here right now, you know, so, all right.
So, any other discussion? Okay, I'll make a motion that we, add Blue Star Services to our report and with, a request for $15,000 for the, implementation of that service. Say that correctly.
Yeah, I think that's.
No,
Close enough.
so I understand.
Yeah,
I'll second.
All in favor, again, all in favor, yep. Perfect.
I think it's just another example of how far, I mean, you've come, you can only bring it to a certain point, then you've gotta get.
Well, you
professional
know, I
people
think
to
of,
carry it further.
Matt Dunlop, and I was reading an article or something that he wrote back, you know, when this started or somewhere along that time, he goes, in these small towns, and of course, we're not a farming town, he goes, what you're asking is hay farmers to be accountants.
Yes, yes,
Exactly.
And, you know, we're
That's
not
right.
accountants, and,
that's right.
you know, we do the best we can, but, you know,
We can,
that's,
we can balance a checkbook if it was balanced when we started.
That's
Right?
Right, but if it's not balanced when we get there, I mean, now you're asking
That's
for,
right.
so,
So,
that's a
okay.
big deal. All right, we'll move on to number 7, the tax collector's report.
Tax collector's report, So pretty much the tax payments are slowing down. I think I didn't receive any this week yet, cause they were due on the 30th. I'm working on getting our delinquent report for the book. And also, I need to get approval to take the tax lien class, online. It's $200. There's a live class on June 3rd, or there's, like a webinar type thing. It's $200, and, I kinda need to do that to get our liens updated.
Process properly.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything
I'm
else?
in favor.
That's it.
Okay. Should we make a motion? Anybody have a disagreement on that then?
Absolutely not.
I'll make a motion that we, pay the fees, $200 fees for the class.
I'll second.
Okay.
And there are multiple classes. They have a class on every subject, so.
But you're doing the one for the.
Yeah, I'm doing the taxing because that's what is due right now.
Okay. All right, treasurer's report.
Okay, in Susan's absence, I was given some information. I'm a little confused about this one, I don't know. She didn't mention about it, it's a municipal debit card policy,
Yeah, I saw that on the.
date approved, 5/20. Do you guys get a copy of this?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if she's looking, to have that signed tonight, I don't think she is, we just need to look at it.
Okay.
I think, you know what I mean, I haven't read it yet, and I'm not signing it until I read it. And I'm not reading it right now, if that's okay, I think it looks like it needs
Signature.
a signature, but I don't know enough about it, do you know?
I read it. It seems pretty standard.
Okay,
Like, it doesn't seem,
It's giving her permission to use the debit card.
yeah, to buy like,
it's just something she's been using it, so.
yeah, it just needs, yeah.
Is
for
this something that, so
purposes,
she doesn't have to ask permission?
every time she needs a box
Oh.
of envelopes,
Okay.
You know.
Probably, that's why I took it,
cause she does ask, oh, I need
right.
something that's $10, can you approve it? It's like, you should be able to buy simple supplies.
Well, it seems like she
We'll have
could
to,
just,
let's read it, table it, and,
Yeah, it looks like, we read it, and, you know, I don't think it's something that we need to all, maybe we all agree, but only one person, I don't even know where we would sign.
physical.
The municipal debit card policy, it looks like she might sign it, I don't really know. I need a little more clarification from her about that, but that's what it's for, and I think we're all in agreement with it, it's just, you know, so, as the clerk, she can buy office supplies.
it's like we just have to pay cash.
Right, but we also wanna, this would be a blanket, so we wanna not just,
Right.
Should be a dollar amount there.
There should be a
That's what I'm
Yeah.
wondering about too, so.
you know,
Yeah.
and then maybe, consumables, small items, stuff like
But
that.
descriptive for what it
A
can be
little more
used for.
descriptive, yes. Yeah, okay.
Agreed.
And I did receive a payroll from Leon for dam, work at the dam.
Hourly,
Yep, so I don't know if
okay, they usually get paid in June,
okay,
The
so I'll
second
give that
payment
to you
twice
and
a
then you
year.
can, yep,
and,
Yeah, he won't be probably submitting it now, cause he's not, he just had surgery on his hand, so he won't be doing any more assisting.
oh, we won't.
Not till, I think he said 4 to 5 weeks.
All right, I'll get that into, because that'll be June.
The next
June has a
payroll.
lot of,
yeah,
you know, like I think we do, you know.
The firewood
Firewood
and-
is up once a year, they
Yeah.
get paid then, that stuff, so, okay.
Okay.
The other thing, we have the account balances, which I was gonna read off, I have them here. Just give me a second. Okay. Accounts, annual road maintenance account. And these are ones that are not, you know, accounts within Trio, but separate bank accounts. 19,812.21. Cemetery account, $16,888.23. CFWF Closure Fund, $27,358.22. Moxie Dam Long Range Account, $102,858.17. New School Bus Account, $70,765.73. Non-traditional scholarship, $7,661.03. Road account, long range, $146,347.79. Scholarship fund, $61,203.65. Got a nice little nest egg for some children's.
Yes,
Student
we need some.
activities.
You need some baby makers.
Mhm. Nice little nest egg for some
We
children.
got one right here.
Do you?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I was referencing, I didn't wanna spill the beans, but.
Congratulations.
Somebody
Now the
asked
whole
me,
town knows.
yeah, somebody
The whole
actually,
world knows.
Yeah.
Susie Hoffmeyer actually
Just asked us
asked me that tonight.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes, and I said, well, it's not, like, we haven't been told officially, but
Yeah,
I'm not.
It's slowly trickling around, we can.
Congratulations, that's fantastic.
So there's a,
Right in the middle of the second most week,
Oh, boy. Yeah,
little
That's
girl.
exciting,
Oh, you already know?
congratulations.
yeah, very cool.
So we'll make good use of that someday.
That's what I'm saying.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah.
$61,203.65 in the scholarship fund. Student activities, $72.54. Town checking account, which is a general account, $276,324.65. Total cash, 10 accounts, $729,299.22. Investments, $32,138.37. Not really sure what the investment is. I think that there's something in the CD. It might be it's not, all,
That's okay.
a scholarship fund, but for alternative, something like that.
Oh, for the, adults or
I
whatever.
think that's what
Yeah,
that's in,
yeah.
and it's in the CD, and I think it
Yeah.
is because at one point, Evan was starting to put some stuff in CDs, I believe, that were like,
Yeah.
that's a stagnant account right now, why not have it earning a little bit of money?
Right.
So I think
We
that-
do wanna keep on top of those though, because when they cycle in and out, it's advantageous to.
Because if you don't. you
They
get the
renew
fall.
at like a
Yeah.
.05%.
Right, I know.
Yeah.
So I think that's pretty much it for the tax collector's report, if anybody has any questions.
Okay, I'll make a motion, we accept the treasurer's report.
I'll second.
All in favor? Move on to the clerk's report. Can we do that too, Charlie?
I don't, she did say something, clerk report.
Yeah, I can do that because, so for the elections, we receive memory sticks for our elections and then we have to send them back. So it's basically, she's just saying that, she sent the memory stick back.
Okay.
Very simple.
I'll make a motion, we accept the clerk's report.
Second?
Second, all in favor? And the minutes from last month, anybody looked at those?
That looked good to me.
Want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion we accept.
I second.
All in favor?
Okay. Old business.
I got one thing, and I don't have the document with me, I was crushed for time today, so I was supposed to run up to Care Time to get it, but it's not new business. If you recall recently, we signed a lease acknowledging the maintenance of the southern trailhead with the old Canada Road, if you remember that?
I remember us, yes.
So we
It was
just
an
basic-
attempt, not.
Right, it's just clearing up that we're not responsible for it, the old Canada Road is.
Yeah.
That went through the process, and then CMP kicked it back because of the conversation around the helipad. CMP was like, we don't have any verbiage in here about the helipad, so the same lease was sent back to be re-signed that has a paragraph about the helipad,
Okay.
essentially. That was kind of, it came up in our conversation, does that include maintaining the helipad?
Yeah,
But it wasn't actually in the body of the lease. You
Yeah.
know, we thought it was kind of encompassing it. So CMP said, we we just need to have this in here for our own record. So that lease is coming back around, so, I'll have to re-sign it, just one of us has to sign it, so if you guys approve that. It's the same lease, it's just,
We
instead of,
did before, I mean, it's,
we signed the same, it's the same exact lease, except there's a paragraph that identifies the helipad.
Yeah, I understand that, we take care of, I say we Brookfield, I take care of the two, one on the
Yeah.
Dead River and
Yeah.
one on the Takeout Road.
Just for 360 visibility, the helipad conversation continued with the Old Canada Road. We finally heard back from the access, the Lifelight land access manager. That helipad, according to his record, you can go back like 30 years, has been used once in those 30 years. And I don't have the formal documentation he's gonna work on getting it for us. Ultimately, Old Canada Road said it's not something we wanna broach now anyway, so just leave it alone. But it seems like there have been a half a dozen times in which logistically, that landing pad is the one that should have been used.
Mhm.
And all of those times, the helicopter landed elsewhere.
Oh,
So, you know,
so it may have value in there, that has value, that's.
he was actually saying it's probably not necessary,
Okay.
you know, because
Or other
he
places.
confirmed for me that Lifelight will and can land anywhere on 201 between Skowhegan and Canada.
And that's what they're doing, they're landing as close as they can to the
Right.
actual.
Right on the road.
Right, and so.
Other than,
The concern, he said, well, because the Old Canada, with that information, the Old Canada Road revisited the idea, do we ask the town of the Forks to consider, you know, nixing that landing pad? Ultimately, we voted yesterday not to do that. It's something we can broach down the road if we want when we're further into that project. You know, he basically said, the concern is that if something were to happen at, say, Northern Outdoors, an ambulance is not going to want to drive north away from the hospital to the ball field and then have something happen in flight where Lifelight can't make it, and then they have to turn around and backtrack over mileage they've already done. So if that was not there, then the ball field would be the closest to the north, and the Moscow one at Kearney Brook would be the closest to the south. He indicated that that's more than suitable and better than most areas, to be honest. And he also brought up that there was an occasion in which they were called to the gravel pit at the Kennebec River Anglers sign, where Confluence Cafe is. So that was one of those situations where, for some reason, they went there instead of the Southern Trailhead official helipad.
What about the Keraton boat launch, that's not a,
I'm sure, I
I'm
think
not
they
sure.
would go, my take on that, is Lifelight's gonna land as close to the scene as they
Yeah.
can, and whoever's on scene is gonna dictate.
That's how, that's how
Where
it
it's gonna
goes.
be.
We had the motorcycle accident, we went to Crusher, which is not a road landing site.
Right,
And,
so that's what's
the
happening
loss,
today.
or I think I got a heart attack on the other side.
Yeah.
They found a place to land on the other side of the river. So it's,
Right.
you know, they're gonna land where they can land. It's
When they
supposed
first
to
initiated, when they first implemented the whole Lifelike thing, they had designated areas, zones, you know, if you will, you know, and that's the way it was organized. But when it comes down to the real life practical, they're going as close as they can, and that's the way it is, they shut down, it's just,
So in summary, the same, if I can get approval to sign that lease again, it just has a paragraph that CMP acknowledges that there is a helicopter landing pad there.
I'll make a motion, we approve that, and you can make that signature,
second.
all in favor. Any other old business? Or new business?
I got just a couple of things, and they get to do with, you know, infrastructure and town services. I don't have Darryl Giroux's direct contact info, I think I did, but I lost it, but I asked John to reach out to him to see if he wants to do the, trash at the boat landing again this year.
I can give it to you if you don't have it.
And then we've got I'll probably coordinate this with John, it was helpful last year, he's got a tractor with forks on it, but we gotta get the picnic tables and trash can up there too. So I just.
Are we gonna
mentioned
try
that.
to do that before Memorial or after?
Probably before, I'd like to try to do it this weekend if I can.
This is Memorial Weekend this
Or
weekend.
well, maybe before then, but I have to coordinate with John, they're really, I loaded them, unloaded them like manually once myself. And it
Yeah,
was-
no, I was there last year, he helped.
Yeah, and it's a lot easier with the forks, just
Yeah.
on and off. The toilet, I don't know if it's up, but Foss called me and I said, bring it up as soon as you can, so.
They came today, Tuesdays is the day in the fall. I saw them on the Indian Road, I did not notice if it was at the dam or not.
Anyways, I said,
Okay.
yeah, as soon as you can. So I'm gonna just let you know, I'm gonna try to coordinate with John Tassinari.
Yep.
So I can bring those up there and get those up.
And let me know, if I'm driving by, or I'm right there, if I'm not on duty, I can.
And, so if you've got, what's Daryl's?
His direct line is, 207-380-6447.
Good deal, thank you.
So, any other new business?
Not really per se, but I just, these are notes that I dug out for the meeting, and it has to do with our budget and, you know, sort of, things that perhaps need to be done, or we should consider having done this year. The culvert's cleaned out, I think that would be the short-term, road maintenance.
Yeah.
But we need to probably try to either get a bid or
Yeah.
hire somebody to do that, because again, that's one of those prevention type
Yeah,
things.
that's part of, the LRA.
Local road assistant
Yes,
thing.
we can use that for that. I did talk to Andy about that last fall, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So, can revisit that with him as well, yeah. I'll
So
try
I
to do
just think
that.
we should try to get that done, you know,
Yeah.
there was some situation that wasn't for us, but it was in the county there by, Fowler's place.
Yes,
Got clogged up and it was running down through his yard and stuff like that, you know, way better to get them cleaned up.
we wanna get a couple of bids, is what you're saying?
I think so,
Okay,
yeah, I think, Daryl and, well, there's 3 people now in there, we've got Andy.
4. John?
I mean, Daryl kind of together, working together, or,
I'm not sure.
okay.
I don't,
And then we have, you know, Ben.
Ben, that's
Ben
what I was
Dominic
thinking.
too, so,
Yep, I can do that.
okay. And we have the money to pay for it, I mean, that's.
Yeah, that was, that's
Annual
part of
road
the,
maintenance,
that's what I was gonna
so
say.
it's not coming out of our general fund, so. that'll be good.
I can do that, this week, early next week. Yep, I can get, quotes from all of them. So I'll find out from John and Daryl, they gotta be insured, I think John said he got insurance, so, yeah.
Yeah, I think he does,
Yeah.
so, cause he's got that little mini excavator, and he's doing a bunch of mowing. I know he's got insurance for mowing anyways, cause he's doing
I
like
think he got
4.
insurance for all of it, he was telling me. I think he got insurance for all of it, the excavator and the
so.
truck too.
Yeah.
But we'll get the,
So.
he may not have the reach.
Okay, and I think that's it, when we come, I think we're gonna have to have another, you know, budget
Yeah,
workshop.
Oh, no, I
yeah,
agree.
we have to,
And the other things that I've just been thinking about have to do with infrastructure, we've gotta start thinking about maintaining with some of these buildings. We've got cracked vinyl out here, you know, it's one of Susan's things, but you know, these chairs, is one that's half collapsed, it'd kinda be nice to spruce a few things up. I don't have anything specific, but things that we should think about, some painting around on the bus garage, I mean, you can wait until the wood rots so you can paint it. There's a piece of metal that came off, that probably needs to be put back
So
on,
are
just,
you
general
thinking we
maintenance.
should add, $2 to, the annual, an article? Or,
No, I just think, I'm bringing it up, I think it probably would be under, town hall and
Okay.
maintenance, you know what I'm saying? Which we haven't really addressed and gotten to.
we used to have a maintenance person,
Right,
we
we
don't.
haven't gotten to the meat of that, but I think we need to get some money
Yep.
aside for that, and, I do know that, you know, because we're a town, they need to be insured, and that the only person that I know right now in the area for, you know, construction type stuff, is Glenn. So, and he said he would do it, I mean,
Oh, he did?
I entered an agreement, I said, if we had some,
Oh,
you know,
good.
some work to do around town, would you be willing, and he said he would.
I,
So, you know, he's licensed, he's
that
insured,
surprises me,
so.
because he's with it, oh yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I mean, it might be a while to get to
Maybe,
it, but he
yeah.
said that he.
But when he
you know,
gets here, he does it, he does it,
He does a really good job,
And
too,
he's
you know,
very
top
quick.
notch. So anyways, that's really related more to, you know, this town hall maintenance as we work on the budget. I think we should think about some of
Okay.
these things, because we can't.
but the money's already, we already have money to draw from.
Yeah.
It's nothing that we need to add an eye.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so yeah, we can consider that.
Yeah, no, we don't have to have a separate article or anything. So anyways, it's just, a reminder to all of us, when we
100%.
work, when we start to dig into that, town hall maintenance and
Right, and then spring
plantation
of the year, right,
charges.
let's get
Yeah.
into the budget,
Yeah.
let's get our annual done, and
Yeah.
hopefully one of us, or all of us, are still here and to
Right.
carry that on for the
Yep.
summer.
Yep.
To get that done.
Just,
We'll
do you
make a
have
note.
any inkling of whether we're looking at a big tax increase or?
I don't
I,
think so.
I wouldn't dare to speak to it right now, but I don't think we're looking at a big one, I don't really know.
I think we made it through this year pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm looking at what we have, these expenses come out of the blue, you try to project a little bit, okay, we've got this much, this many months. Next thing you know, we've got, $3,500 worth of tax bills on the Moxie property.
But that's not a lot,
But that we didn't anticipate, you know what I'm
Right,
saying, but I think we're in pretty good shape, and I do not anticipate.
we have a
It's
new one that's
substantial.
coming up, that we're gonna raise money for, that the state's requiring us to, to reevaluate the town.
Right.
The state's requiring us to meet a financial goal after a couple of years and do this. So that's gonna be a big ticket item on the taxes. But when I say big ticket, we're looking probably 15 to 20,000 to start with. So it's not gonna change what we're doing, what we're paying now by a lot, a few dollars, if anything. So that'll offset some other stuff, so without getting our commitment together, it'll be hard to say, but what we see today, right now, what we're looking at in our account, for the duration of the year, what we have to pay, and, barring nothing comes up, I think we're gonna be okay this year.
Okay.
I think it's gonna be the same, roughly, within a few percent, but I don't see a big one.
We did add a few things, last year we didn't, ask to fund the long-range road, but we did the long-range Moxie Dam. This year, we've asked to fund the long-range road account, with the basic thought being, it's gonna have to be replaced, and we're better off saving the money than borrowing it.
Right,
We're gonna have to rebuild that road at some point in the future.
yeah.
And we probably will have to take out a bond or a loan, but the less we have to borrow, the better off we
So
are.
that might, yes and no, in my opinion,
Yeah.
and we'll see how the town people, I'm thinking at that point, we may have, if the town chooses to sell the houses, sell the lots, there might be some revenue there to offset some of those costs. It won't be in this year, but, in that next year or two,
Mhm.
by the time that comes in, so that will offset some of that, so that, we might get out of some of that.
Yep.
Right.
So,
We're doing our due diligence and our best to keep
That's right, the
the best, minimal as we can.
absolutely.
And I hate to say this out loud, and I know we're at a meeting, I know we're being recorded, but 2 years ago, it was a big push by the state to reevaluate every town, get every dollar that we can. The market was up, everything, the houses, everything was skyrocketing. Things are coming down. That push may settle down.
That's true.
Right, so we may not be forced to do it. They might, let that go, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm speculating as just a regular guy, I don't know that factual,
Right,
but they may ease off on that expectation of a hard date.
right.
But right now, today, they're requiring us to raise money with that intention, so.
Yeah, there's something about a 70%, it needs to be greater than 70% of the valuation or something, and what happens if it falls below that? What they do is they start cutting your tree growth reimbursement, and your homestead
Okay.
reimbursement,
Okay.
because your basic,
Okay.
that's how they
Okay, it's
do
tied
it.
together.
It's really kind of confusing to me, I talked with Garnet the other day, and I was more confused. But,
If you don't raise it, in taxes,
Yeah,
they're only gonna give you so much
that's right. I can
of the
understand that.
tax breaks.
Yeah,
Right.
I didn't.
So the balance has gotta be there, and there's a
Right.
juggling act, if you will.
So, do we have to replace that money that came out of the long-range dam account? How does that work?
if the dam needs repair.
Yeah,
No, but I mean, because it was
Then we
taken
will.
out improperly.
at this moment, yes.
We do. So-
Well, we don't have to replace it. per se, but we're gonna need to replace it if we
Right.
wanna do the maintenance.
Right.
But is there a legal, aspect to it? No.
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 But do the townspeople know?
I think that's gonna be part of the discussion that comes up.
Good.
I think, I'm hoping that those questions are asked.
Because the dam eventually it needs
Oh,
work.
It's,
Yeah.
the people raised
All that money.
all that money, all of a sudden 56,000 of it was gone, and they bought a house.
Yeah,
That money was raised by the townspeople.
yeah.
Not to buy
And not
property.
voted on to use it for that.
Exactly, so I'm,
Well, if you
When-
need someone to raise a question, you just wait to be,
Yeah.
I'll be glad to raise the
I
question.
think, trust me, I think it's gonna come out. I think people are gonna ask a lot of questions when that subject comes up.
Well, that's good.
And the intent will be, and the people will have to make this decision,
Right.
and the people will have to, make a motion, to amend or whatever, when it comes down to it, it won't be this town meeting, but if they do decide to sell them, the people will have to say, I make an amendment or a motion that we take 56,000 right off the top and replenish,
Okay,
okay?
that makes sense.
So, but,
The conversation of what to do with the revenue when we sell is a totally different conversation.
absolutely, we gotta get to, can we sell it first?
Yeah, yeah,
Do the people want to,
that's right,
first?
right,
Can we legally, second?
right,
And then after that, we can go to those directions.
that's right.
But, as far as that 56,000 or whatever it is, that the dam account is short, legally, it's gone, and nothing we can do
No,
to get it back
right,
unless we raise it again.
yeah, yeah.
The only thing we can hope is that the money spent is now, accrued value and real estate increase.
Yes, exactly. So,
That's good.
I have the warrant,
okay,
Uh,
yep.
That is.
which I signed.
Same as we looked at last night, except the addition of those or no?
No, I didn't wanna put
Okay.
those in there because I didn't really know what we were paying for.
Right, it was just, for
Amanda can't,
Amanda's payroll.
Regina.
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 No, there's just too much confusion,
No, that makes
and I
sense.
talked to him today, I said, we might accrue another $20 worth of interest if they're not paid until June. But I really needed to have a better idea of exactly what lots these were, and how they relate to what we already paid, and, it's very,
I can, if you don't have the time, Charlie, I can follow that up too, so I started that whole can of worms.
you can have, all of this. These right here are the actual invoices. Unfortunately, this one we don't send back. I made a few notes. I make copies of those for
Yeah,
you.
what, I mean,
Because those are the ones that need to be sent back. There's 2 pages. This is the actual
well,
thing that you
I mean,
remember.
if you need me to ask some questions,
I need to figure out a little bit, I need to spend a little bit more time with
okay,
it. And with this map, and, because we do have lots and map numbers and deep books and pages and all that
I'm
kind of
aware of
stuff.
it. I mean, I
You
have,
know.
actually, to be honest with you, Charlie, this might help you too. And it's been in my, I'll give it to you. It's been in my mail copy. I took a lot of that information when I was doing this investigation. It was in my mail copy. Might help you, decipher some of that.
And I haven't really looked at these tax cards, and that has information with that lot number,
There's
and count
actually-
numbers and all this.
That, when they originally did this, there's actually a survey that was done.
Yeah, well, Saget and Brady for years.
Yeah, in writing, not just a map.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
But then I don't know if I can trust these lot numbers.
No, you cannot. So, anyways, any more new business before we get? No? Okay, I'll make a motion to adjourn,
7:27?
7:27, all in favor, or second,
Second.
Wow,
all in favor? Perfect.
that was an hour and 3 minutes.
We will,
No, but from the time we got here, at 6:24,
The gavel's in, the gavel's
24
out.
minutes late. That's good.
Pretty good.
An hour.
Very good, very good, that's how it should be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so,
He was like, I'll get there before the meeting's over. I'm like, I don't know. I said, do not worry, hurry back.
That was great.
I'm sorry.